Hello, hello. Welcome to this new moon in Cancer. So we have this new moon happening on the very last degrees of Cancer, and it happens here in Portugal, exactly on July 17th, 31 minutes past 7 p.m. So yeah, this lunation, this new cycle is one that for me speaks about resilience and persistence. So it's about running a marathon rather than just enjoying the summer. Especially we are here in the northern hemisphere, so of course we have this very warm weather, and everyone just wants to be around family and friends and enjoying holiday season. But maybe maybe this cycle is not going to feel so much of just enjoying holiday season, and or maybe this holiday season, and that's why it's going to require a little bit of work around family issues or things that are triggered around when we are around family. So let me explain this to you. So we have this sun and the moon exactly at 25th degree of Cancer, and so we have two aspects that can be tense or challenging, and two other that can be harmonious or, let's say, more passive and flowing. So starting by the challenging ones, or the ones that can bring a little bit of tension. The first one is the opposition with Pluto. Pluto is back in Capricorn. He speaks about collective issues that we are all moving from. He had his first dip into Aquarius, but now is back in Capricorn, trying to make amends or trying to solve or deal with everything that it still has to be done in Capricorn issues. So that later this year, if I'm not mistaken, he will go again into Aquarius. But for now, we have this opposition in between the Sun and the Moon with Pluto. So these two axes, starting by the I spoke a little bit about the axis Cancer and Capricorn in the last in the full moon. But going back to it, just to remind you about some topics here. So Cancer is the mother archetype. So it's the caretaker, the caregiver. So it's the one that is protecting. So it's about protecting or caring for something that is vulnerable. It's also about education. So the caregivers, or the parents that have the responsibility to take care of the child's education. And then on the opposite side we have Capricorn, which is about it's about achieving, and this idea of doing something that is recognizable by others, that is public. So it's about working hard to reach something or some stage or some kind of reputation or some kind of image, public image, let's say. But it's also about responsibilities, also about duties, also about this connection to reality. So what do I need to do to actually make a living? Not just to make a living, but to succeed in this lifetime. While Cancer is just about caring and about making sure that we have real connections, that we have not only real connections, but that we care for each other, that we establish healthy and safe, loving bonds, and that we have this private setting that is where I can be vulnerable, where I can take my armor off. So it's about being sensitive. It's about intuition. It's about the ability to show emotions, to express emotions in a very safe environment. And having these two, having the sun and the moon well, the moon rules Cancer, so it's very comfortable there. And of course, it speaks about, it enhances this need to express the love and the affection that we have for each other, for family especially. That's why this is usually a family, family related season, because we have holidays and we all go together somewhere, and we face again this the quality of our connections, of our bonds, especially with family. But then we have Pluto in Capricorn. So when we have Pluto against the moon, and Pluto, which stands for death and rebirth, and rescuing our personal power, or at least this ability that I have to be vulnerable, but still feel in my own, stand up for myself, and establish some boundaries, and to be safe in my own space. Pluto needs to bring everything that is not allowing me to be in this empowered space, so that I can see it, so that I can deal with it. And most of the times those are things that are difficult to deal with. So we have this sun and the moon illuminating everything that's there, and everything that has been for some reason, any resentment and any trauma, any kind of related topic to difficult topic to go and speak about it, or to feel, or to remember, especially regarding authority figures in our life, or rules or structures that we were imposed, or that someone imposed on us, and that back in my childhood I had no voice. So now it's about rescuing that voice, and do something about that. But then when we have this opposition in between both, we can also have the shadow sides of this two coming along. And so we have, of course, the shadow side of Cancer, which is melancholy and victimization, staying in this kind of role of why me, and why this would happen to me and not to that person or to that other person. So just staying in that position of blaming, and not really connecting to what is that situation telling me about myself, or just of how I can actually deal with it, with just for the future, and not just staying in that quest for reasons for that to happen. That just puts me in this kind of endless in this endless quest. And on the opposite side, we have of course the ability to use power in a not so gentle way, or in a just for personal interest. So it's about manipulation, or using the ability to see something in the other that is a weak point, and use it to my benefit. So this, and of course emotional emotional blackmail is something that is very that is it's a tool that is very, very used in this kind of aspects. So all of this emotional blackmailing, or manipulation, psychological manipulation, or whatever, this can be at play here. And maybe you're doing it to someone, or maybe you are being a victim of that. But of course, as I was saying, you're never just a victim. You're also benefiting in some way of that by not choosing to establish some kind of boundary, or and I know this can be hard to figure, but or difficult to process. But most of the times we choose a certain type of reaction, or a certain type of behavior, either because we don't know how to do it in a different way, and that's okay. But then if it's not benefiting us in some way, we need to at least ask for help on how we can do it differently, and not just saying that, oh, I'm just a victim because I don't know how to do it different. So I can ask for help and say, like, I can't stand this. I'm not a victim of this, and I need help to do it different. So this is something that is very, very powerful. And of course, it may, I use the word challenging and tension, because it brings that kind of tension. It brings that kind of need for a proactive step. So this kind of aspect that I call challenging, or tense, or dynamic, they require some kind of step, conscious step towards a different way of dealing with this. That's why they're tense. So because they need some kind of push, they bring that kind of push, that kind of that kind of very enthusiastic invite for a certain kind of to face some kind of situation, or to face some kind of emotions, or whatever it's there for us to deal with. And of course, you have to look to the houses where you have the last degrees of Cancer and the last degrees of Capricorn, to understand how this may be playing out in your life. But then there is another one. So this is not the only one that is happening with this moon, as I said in the beginning. So we also have a square to the nodes. So the lunar nodes, they have been in the Taurus Scorpio axis until just now. So for some astrologers, they have already moved into the previous axis, because the nodes move backwards, or in opposite direction to the planets. So, and to some other astrologers, just like me, they are just about to do it exactly on the day of this new moon. So for this, it's like we are activating the cardinal signs, all the cardinal signs. So we have like this cosmic square, perfect square, basically happening in the sky. And of course, this is, as it's touching the nodes, it's touching, and the nodes, they are called the nodes of destiny to some astrologers, by some astrologers. And of course, this speaks about the journey of the soul. So it's something that is requiring us to step forward into the evolution of our soul. But that is that has to happen through the evolution of our personality, of our ego, of our our human existence here in this planet. And so moving into this axis of Aries and Libra, this is going to be about who I am, because that's Aries, who I am as an independent and autonomous human being. What do I need to do for my survival, and how do I need to step into the world to survive? But then it's also about who am I in a relationship to others, when I'm encountering others. So, and what do I learn about myself when I'm in a relationship to someone? So this is about not just focusing in my identity or in my autonomy or independence or whatever, but it's just of coming together about this too. Is like my autonomy, my survival, my identity is also connected, and I have to learn about it as well when I'm seeing myself projected in my relationships or by my relationships. So they are the ones that actually show me blind spots about my personality and about my identity that I haven't been aware. And of course, I need to relate. I am this social human being that needs this kind of that needs this kind of dynamic to survive as well. So I need to be a little bit of both, and I need to learn by being in both positions. And of course, Libra is about creating harmonious partnerships or relationships, and of course, fairness or justice is a big word for Libra, and it's also about beauty. So about harmony, creating a harmonious and beautiful environment. So this is about the capacity to be both, to be myself, but still being aware of the impact of being myself in others, and how that affects others, and how others affect me, and how to be in this world together. So we are going to see a lot about this, and of course, being cardinal signs, we are speaking about this initiation phase of something new. So I think, although we already have the first eclipse in this axis, in Aries and Libra axis, I think in April. So we had the activation of this of the lunar nodes already coming up in April, but I think now it's the moment, especially being triggered by this new moon opposite Pluto. Of course, this kind of liberates it liberates this energy even further. So we're going to have another year and a half of the nodes in this axis. So we have a lot to learn about this. And this starts now, basically. It's like a kickoff for this journey. Then about the harmonious aspect that I was mentioning in the beginning to this new moon. So we have the trine and we have trines and sextiles, and the trines are the most fluent, or the most the most harmonious ones that require basically no action at all. It's like they're just laying there for us to take advantage of. So and this is a trine to Neptune, so which is in Pisces. So this is a lot about using our sensitivity, our empathy, our compassion, and of course our imagination. And it's the ability to see further, to to see beyond what is tangible or what's visible to our eyes. So it's about using our senses in a much more broader way and capturing other information that may be available in this field. So maybe in the field of dreams or in the field of any kind of artistic tools that you use, maybe there you can actually find some kind of support, because this is a supportive aspect to the other two that are happening that are more a little bit more challenging. So maybe here you can find hope, or you can find some kind of answer that you weren't able to see before. And so anything or any tool that is related to this aspect, for me it's related to some kind of hypnotherapy, for example, or any kind of therapy involving water or involving fluids. So painting, for example, is one of them. Or I know there are some therapies that are done in the water, in warm water, to kind of rescue those memories from birth, for example. So this may bring some kind of information that can be useful for us to also deal with anything that may have been coming up or that may be about to come up throughout the cycle. And the other one that is happening is a sextile. So it's a less prominent aspect, but it's still very positive as well. Is a sextile to Uranus, which is in Taurus. So we have the sextile to Uranus, and of course here we have the connection to the mind, and it's it's this kind of intuitive mind, but also very agile and future oriented, so solution oriented or innovation oriented. Let's say it better. So maybe this can also help you deal with this either family issues or things from the past that need to just be need a kind of cleanse or a detox, or some kind of a new arrangement or a new environment, or a new scenario, or something like that, some kind of reconfiguration. Then this is the opportunity for us to finally be able to do that, to reframe everything that's the scenario that I have been painting to myself, or the story that I have been told, that I have been telling to myself or telling to others. So maybe now I can start telling it in a different way that is actually more positive to my future, and that actually can benefit me in the future for a more sustainable future. And of course, sustainability here is going to be about the sustainability about my relationships and my the bonds that I establish with family or with friends. So this can be, of course, as I said, tense, and can feel maybe sometimes a bit overwhelming, especially if you have some kind of planets or angles in some of this four signs. Can be a little bit difficult to handle, but then again, it's we can do this in a more gentle way and supportive way. So we can ask for help. We can be supported throughout our journeys, and we have that possibility. Most of the times, just within reach. But sometimes we are just afraid of ask. So just going a little bit about other aspects that are happening also for this new moon. So we have Mercury in Leo, in a dynamic aspect also with Jupiter, and they both rule opposite signs. So they kind of go in opposite directions, or they can go in opposite directions. So this is about communicating maybe sometimes too arrogantly, kind of expressing in a way that feel like I'm the truth owner, and I know it all, and I am right and you are wrong, or something in this in this kind of area, or I can be just too superficial and be perceived as too superficial, or kind of out of reach for some reason. So this can be and this can go in one of two ways. So we just have to be mindful of this aspect happening, especially in the days after this new moon, and be a little bit more gentle with ourselves, and a little bit more flexible. Being flexible and open to others' opinions and to others' perspective, but still going deep into what we believe, and going deep, but still in a fun way, let's say. And then we have Venus about to station retrograde. So she's going to spend almost, I think, until mid-September, if I'm not mistaken, in this retrograde motion. So all the movements that she has been doing for the past months throughout Leo, she's going to go backwards and revisit everything and review everything. So, and that's going to be the invite. So maybe it's not going to be felt like a Mercury retrograde that kind of hinders our communications and technology and so on. But maybe we are going to need or to feel the need to review all the relationships that we have, or if they're authentic, or if I'm actually able to be authentic around those relationships. And if they are supportive, or if they help me grow, or if they are just there to applaud, but then to not being truthful, or not being not being real or honest and authentic. So this is going to be a topic, and also, of course, Venus represents also the relationship to beauty, and especially being in Leo, of course, is about my external beauty, but most of the times it's not about my external beauty, and rather how I'm able to see the beauty in me and in others, but not just externally. It's about everything. It's about my abilities. It's about my talents or my gifts, or just the ability to recognize something good about one another, that is real, that is raw, and that is unique. So this ability to recognize that in myself, and the ability to recognize that in others, it's going to be reviewed, let's say. And of course about money as well. So the way that I'm spending, if I'm spending just in kind of very the word's not coming, but this just in this external and material kind of trying to the word is not coming up. I'm sorry, but it's about the way that I'm spending. If I'm spending in things that are actually valuable to me, and that support my authenticity, or if I'm just trying to buy things to cover myself and pretend, trying to be perceived by others in a different way than I actually am. So creating an image, a different image about myself to other people. But of course, this is also about like the way that I look. So a lot of a lot of transits from Venus and in Leo are of course about like the way that we look, and so depending on the house that you have Leo, maybe this is going to be stronger, or it will it will need a kind of I don't know, a new shape or a new haircut, a new, I don't know, something like that. And then just to to finish, we have Mars opposite Saturn, and so Mars is already in Virgo, and of course Mars is the warrior, and well, Saturn is the Lord of Time, and they're both considered malefics in traditional astrology. But besides being or not being malefics, they both represent something that is that requires some kind of commitment and some kind of effort and some kind of work. And of course, the warrior being in Virgo, it's about it's a warrior that fights for perfection, or for not necessarily for perfection, but to make things better than they are, and to create a more fertile space or environment. So it's about creating order on something so that everything else can flow in a better way. Or so it can be, of course, too driven to perfection, or to avoid mistakes. So too focused on mistakes. So it can be very critic and very error oriented, which is not very good, and putting a lot of pressure on yourself, or of course and others as well, and being very, very demanding. And especially with this opposition with Saturn, you can feel this pressure even stronger, because Saturn in Pisces, of course, it's a little less how can I say, it's not weaker shape, but it's not so strong, let's say. But of course, it's like they both speak of this need to get your feet on the ground, to be pragmatic, to be concrete, to be real. So it's like a reality check in some ways. And Saturn is about creating, it's the Lord of Time, so it's about teaching that things take time to evolve and take time to be set in place. So when we have Saturn opposite Mars, Mars being the warrior who wants to get things done as quickly as possible, this warrior will feel the restriction that Saturn is going to impose, just for the sake of learning. So it's not just about avoiding mistakes, or of trying to do everything perfect, but rather is about learning with the process. So, but of course, this will may be felt as something that is restrictive and that is kind of castrating my action and my ability to move things forward. But then again, coming back to the words that I said in the beginning, it's about persistence and it's about resilience, knowing that this is a cycle that is going to require this, to manage our efforts and to manage, everything, to manage our not only our strengths, but the way that we apply them, and where we are going to actually refill our energy so that we can keep going. So yeah, I'm going to stop here. This is a lot already. I just hope that you can that this can be useful somehow for you. Of course, if you have, as I said, any aspects or any planets or angles in the cardinal signs, this can feel a little bit more overwhelming. But remember that you can ask for help and by any astrologer around you, because this is not just something. This is not about faith. Is not something that you don't that you don't that you can't escape from. It's not about escaping, and it's more about like, how can I take the best advantage of this to actually learn something and to evolve, to grow somehow. So this is a big push or a big invite. You choose the better word for you. So just take good care and take the best out of this. And yeah, I'll be here for the full moon. Bye bye.